This is the Become the Lion podcast. If you are aiming to become the top in your industry, not second, not above average, the top, then you have come to the right place. Become the Lion will provide you with weekly insights and motivation needed from our guests on how to escape the common herd that society lives in. If you're looking to change your life, then get ready. Welcome to Become the Lion.
I know I sent you the questions yesterday, and those are just kind of like what I go off of, but obviously, as you go along, if you say something... Hi, this is Trevor Nicholas from Become the Lion. Today on the show, we have Tim Matthews. Tim is the founder of The Powerful Man, a lifestyle and business coach geared towards men reclaiming their manhood. Tim, welcome to Become the Lion.
Thank you, Trevor. It's been a while in the making, hasn't it? It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited. And for our audience out there, do you mind telling them a little bit about how you got started as a business and lifestyle coach for men?
Oh, well, it really was something that chose me. You know, it wasn't a conscious decision. I never thought that this was what I'd be doing. I mean, I always had a desire to own my own business from being a young kid, and I always wanted to have a business that impacted the world in some way or served people in some way. But by no means did I ever set out kind of desiring to be a men's coach. I mean, what happened, how I got into this was before I started The Powerful Man, I had a business called Fitness for Mum. And I've been growing Fitness for Mum, which was a women's business, actually, quite the opposite. It was all women, no men. We were growing that business, and we had it for about 5 or 6 years. And I got to the point in that business a couple of years ago, in August of 2014, when I met one of my really good friends called Tom Crawshaw. And he was working his business online. He was working it from anywhere in the world. He was earning more money, impacting more people, having more freedom. And at that time, Tom was the real slap in the face, real life example of what I knew was possible, but what I only read about in magazines or what I only saw in audiobooks. Whereas him, this guy in front of me, was a real living, breathing example of what was possible. And it really caused me to reflect back on what I was creating, because at that moment, we'd had Fitness for Mum for about 5 years, and it was going all right. You know, it was going well. We were getting up to the point of starting to get into kind of mid 4 figures a month. It wasn't by any means 5 figures. It was probably about £5,000 a month, but it was absolutely killing me. It was such hard work. I'd really bought into the belief that all the personal development industry had told me, which was, you know, to get success is someday you will persevere, you will hustle, you will grind, you will dig deep, you will work the 15, 16, 17-hour days. It's all about the effort. And I really bought into that for a long, long time, ever since I was about 22, 23 years old when I started the business. And all that got me was a life of stress, struggle, and sacrifice. I chose to focus on the external parts of the business first. I was focusing on the funnels. I was focusing on the sales and marketing. I was focusing on getting more franchisees. I was focusing on every single thing outside of me. And what I didn't realize underneath all of this, that I was running a pattern of not feeling worthy, of not feeling good enough. And when I met Tom, it was a real wake-up call for me to look at everything that I was creating in my life. At that point, we had the office, we had the staff. You know, we just pitched the product to the UK's largest health club chain, and they wanted to trial it. We were growing a franchise. The franchise was one of the UK's fastest growing pre- and postnatal fitness franchises at the time. But underneath all that, my relationships were in turmoil. I was engaged. I proposed. We were engaged. We booked a wedding. We bought a house. All when it didn't feel right. I was getting robbed in tens of thousands. Bad business deals. I was putting out fires with franchisees. I was undercharging. I was underpricing. I was just scrambling, to be honest. I was really, really scrambling. And when I met Tom in that August, the following month, my mum and dad were about to put £10,000 down on the wedding, and I just couldn't let them do it. And it was one of those moments, which are a fork in the road. At that moment in time, my life was going to go one of two directions. It was either going to go down the path, and I was gonna just conform, and I was gonna get married, and I was gonna continue with the stress, struggle, and sacrifice, or I was gonna do it my way for the first time ever. And I decided to do it my way for the first time ever. I got rid of all the franchisees. I got rid of the office. I said no to Virgin. I cancelled the wedding. I ended that relationship. I got rid of the business partners I had at the time. And I really decided to do it my way for the first time ever, because up until that point, Trevor, that story of not being worthy, of not being good enough, had run my entire life. It started when I was about 7 years old, and I looked for ways my entire life to prove it right. My sister, who went travelling, who's 7 years older than me, I believed she went away because she didn't want to be around me. I then got girlfriends, and I cheated on them because I put my self-worth on being able to pull women. I almost died from taking too many drugs. Just everything culminated in this point of time at meeting Tom and really making that decision. And when I made that decision to do it my way for the first time ever, I cancelled all those things and simplified the business and started focusing on me and addressing my self-worth and me being good enough and me showing up and me, essentially. Amazing things started to happen. And one of those things was that I chose to surrender to the pull that was inside of me, the pull that had been there all along, to be a speaker, to be a coach, to be an author. And why men? I mean, why did it end up being men? And what happened? One of the reasons, well, the main reason around why I didn't feel worthy and good enough came from when I was about 7 years old, like I said a moment ago. And it was to do with the relationship I had with my dad, to be honest. And, I love my dad dearly, and he did an amazing job of raising me. It's just that, he did his best, but I just required something a little bit different for me to feel loved. And if you've ever delved into love languages, that'll give you a bit of an insight as to what it takes for you to feel loved. But anyway, the point is, I didn't really get to see my dad a great deal when I was younger because he was working so much. He was travelling and he was away. So on a weekend, we used to go up and practice football in the local field. And this one day, we were practicing and he was showing me how to curl a ball, how to save it. And for you guys in the US, it's soccer. It's not American football. I was diving, I was saving, I was volleying. I was like, yeah, I'm loving it. So then a few days later, I was playing in a local match for my primary school. And I scored 4 goals, and I was like, fuck yes, can't wait, I'm going to get home, tell my dad, he's going to be so proud, this is my moment, this is when I'm going to really claim my manhood and be the man of the house and just feel proud, essentially. And I waited for my dad to get in, he got in, he went upstairs, got a shower, came down, grabbed a beer, sat in his chair like all dads do. All dads have a chair, don't they? He sat in his chair, and I stood in front of him and went to go tell him about these goals. And I didn't even get through the second goal, and he just did this gesture just to move me to the side. And I can remember right there and then just this heaviness came over me. It took a lot of courage for me to stand there and tell him what I'd done, and this heaviness came over me. I just thought, well, what do I have to do to be good enough to be seen, to be heard? And that's when I looked for ways to prove that belief right my entire life, as I just said. And then fast forward past all the cheating and the drug taking and the business partners and so on and so forth. When I was feeling the pull to step into coaching, what I'd then done is I'd created the space in Fitness for Mum to be able to just see what came up for me through coaching. And one evening, after I'd moved back home, because obviously I'd called off the wedding, so I was back home with my parents, I was upstairs and my door was open and I could hear Mum and Dad downstairs and they were arguing, and my dad wasn't being very nice to my mum, to say the least. And he'd been drinking too much, and he came upstairs and he said to me, make sure you fucking take those dogs out. And I was like, do not speak to me like that, please. And he said it again. So I said, do not speak to me like that. And he said it again. So I stood up in my doorway, he stood in his doorway, and he said, okay, well, if you don't like it, get your bags and leave. And the following day, I was going to meet my uncle, my dad's eldest brother, somebody who he respects very, very highly. So I met him and I just told him exactly what was going on. I told him exactly what his brother was like, how he was being, how he was to my mum, to my sister. I had my sister come onto Skype and confess everything. I had my mum come onto the phone and confess everything. And I dropped my uncle off at my dad's house, and I, ready to let him go and confront him about all of this. At the same time, I just felt the urge to start sharing this through social media. I started speaking the message of how, as young men, as men in business, we often fall for what personal development tell us, and we invest in the external, and we often don't feel worthy or good enough, but we never talk about it because of what it means to be a man, and the relationship, the dynamic of the father and son, and how powerful it is in business for us as entrepreneurs that are looking to achieve so much. And it just started to resonate with so many men. So many men started to reach out to me and ask me and just want insight, because, we get so caught up in investing in the external in business. We're so caught up, and it's really not the first place to go, in my opinion. And, as a result of that, the powerful man was born. I really, really feel that the powerful man chose me. Up until that point, I never shared anything on social media. And I just love to this day that I honoured that impulse to just share that one moment. I mean, my friends thought I was going insane. They were like, what are you doing? You can't share that through social media. What are you doing? But I just reached that point of like, you know what, I'm doing it my way for the first time ever. This was about 4 months after I'd got rid of all the franchisees and the office and the business partner and cancelled the wedding, and I was in that space of really committing to doing it my way for the first time ever. So there was no way that I wasn't going to share it. So, yeah, lengthy story, but it puts it into perspective. It really wasn't a conscious decision in a lot of ways.
And when you were sharing your story on social media, what was it like opening yourself up to the entire world to see what you were saying?
Interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. I went through this period of, do you know what, I've got nothing to hide. I just feel like being absolutely transparent and absolutely naked and vulnerable. So I also posted a picture of myself just like in boxer shorts saying, look, here I am, here's my body, this is what I love about it, this is what I'm working on with it, here's where I am with my business, here's where I am with my relationships. It's just this transparency that a lot of people want to shy away from, because so many of us want to pretend that we've got it together, and so many of us want to show up in a mask and pretend that everything is all good and well, and it's in the vulnerability that you find your greatest gifts that are really going to propel you forward in your business.
Throughout the entire course of this journey, do you think it's your shift in mindset that has allowed you to become successful?
Partly, Trevor. It's a great question. Partly. I mean, it was a stepping stone, definitely, to my mindset at the start. I was always someone who was very positive. When we had Fitness for Mum, I used to drive from boot camp to boot camp, listening to audiobooks, listening to Tony Robbins, all those things. So I've always been learning, and I was positive. But, if you motivate an idiot, you get a motivated idiot. And I'm not saying I was an idiot, but I was trying to add floors to a building with crumbling foundations, and it just doesn't work, does it? So mindset, it was a great piece of awareness to be able to become aware of the fact that I didn't feel worthy and good enough, and lean into that and look at how it was showing up in my business, i.e. undercharging, i.e. not speaking my most powerful message, i.e. taking on clients that didn't serve me, i.e. not really structuring the business how I desired, so essentially doing it the way that everybody told me to do it versus my way. But the biggest shift, the mindset, goes deeper. It goes into alignment, and that alignment comes from a space of being. It comes from a space of really aligning your energy and your feeling to your truth, because you can have all the mindset in the world, but I believe, and the biggest breakthroughs we have with our men is when we have them really switch onto their feeling, and their feeling being their compass, because your feeling helps you to identify whether you're in your head or whether you're in your heart. And when you're in your head, you're comparing, you're judging, you're doubting, you're rushing, it's chaos, it's hustle, it's grind, it's force. When you're in your heart, in your body, it's flow, it's ease, it's abundance. You're opening yourself up to just be an absolute conduit for the greatness that naturally wants to flow through you. And that's the thing. Back then, I wasn't aware of that. And back then, I was trying to have something, i.e. the business, so I could do something, i.e. have freedom, go on holiday or whatever, or feel good, so I could then be happy and fulfilled and feel successful. And it's the wrong way around. Your greatest impact, your greatest success will always come from you being something first, or being someone first. And from being that person, you will then take the action aligned to you and your truth, and then you will have what you desire. Be, do, have versus have, do, be. Such a powerful shift that goes a little bit deeper than mindset.
I know earlier in the episode you mentioned how you didn't feel worthy, but how did you develop the self-confidence to view yourself as worthy?
It's a process. It was a process of becoming aware of where that story came from. And one of the most powerful conversations I had was with my dad. Somebody actually set me a challenge. They said, "Have you ever asked your dad if he's proud of you?" And I was like, whoa, my mind freaked out, but my heart, my soul knew it was the right thing for me to do. And I said, no. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you 7 days to ask your dad if he's proud of you. And I was like, easy, 7 days, I'll do it, no problem. Got to day 7 and I still not done it. And I was like, fucking hell. Got to day 8 and I was like, oh, this is fucking stupid. Oh, I'm doing this. So I went round to his house. He was cooking in the kitchen and the door's back out into the garden. So I walked outside. I was in the garden. I was pacing up and down, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And every time I went up to the doors to ask him, I was like, I just froze. I've never experienced anything like it. And in the end, I got the words out and I asked him, I was like, Dad, are you proud of me? I said, why are you asking me that? I said, I just want an answer, please. Are you proud of me? And he said, of course I'm proud of you. Why? I said, because you've never told me. And he just dropped the knife and he came and sat down at the table and I sat down with him and I went on to tell him about that day when I was 7 years old and what I chose to believe and what I took on and how I then let it affect my behaviour with the girls and with the drugs. Well, I knew about the drugs because I was in hospital, but with my relationships, with everything. And he didn't even remember the day that happened. He apologised, but he didn't even remember the day. And that's the thing. You know, I built up this belief based on something that wasn't accurate. And he went on to tell me a lot about his childhood and his upbringing and how he struggled to receive love and connection from his parents. And he then brought a lot of those energies and behaviours into his parenting, although he tried not to. Some of the expression of positive emotion he just found a little bit harder to do because he wasn't used to expressing emotion positively. And for me, one of my primary love languages is words of affirmation, which is saying things like, I love you, I'm proud of you, positive things. And for him, one of the things he struggles with the most is words of affirmation because that's just not the space that he's come from. So being able to shift my mindset and develop the confidence, you first get to understand where it came from. You get to have a conversation with that person and really clear up the fact of what you chose to take on is actually inaccurate. And then it's a process of really becoming aware of who you are and your truth and embodying that person day after day. And over time, it becomes your second nature.
Do you think it's important that someone loves themselves first as compared to someone who seeks validity from someone else, like let's say a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and they say, I have to have that person in my life to make me feel good or to make me feel worthy?
Yeah, it always comes from, always I strongly, strongly recommend you always have self-love first. Do not put your self-love on external people, possessions, experiences. You get to be the source of your own self-love. I actually put a post out on Facebook today talking about gratitude versus appreciation. You know, we hear a lot about being grateful and how powerful gratitude is and starting your day with gratitude. But when you're being grateful, it's an act of being grateful for something outside of yourself, so something that you have or something that you've done or something somebody else has done. Whereas appreciation is an act of, you know, showing appreciation for a positive characteristic that you may have or that somebody else may have. So it's really important for men especially. You know, as men, we are so hard on ourselves. We often run the story of not enough, that I am not enough, that it was not enough, that I could have done more, that there is not enough, that not enough, not always been hypercritical of ourselves and what we produce. And if you're able to just shift away from that and show yourself appreciation, like just choose one thing about yourself that you're going to really commit to appreciating and just fall in love with it. Just fall in love with that one thing. True appreciation is the gateway to all self-love. All self-love. It's great to have acts of self-love, i.e. putting yourself first or doing something you love or whatever. You know, acts of self-love are great, but acts of self-love don't mean that you have self-love. Appreciation is the key to self-love.
And Tim, your company is called The Powerful Man, but what is your definition of a powerful man?
I love this. I get asked this one a lot. It kind of changes a little bit. You know, a powerful man is a man who's powerfully connected to himself, to his emotions first and foremost. You know, he's able to express his emotions. He's able to be in tune with them and express whether it's sadness, anger, happiness, joy, bliss. He's able to cry. He's able to be vulnerable. You know, he's able to really follow his instincts, live with honor, and lead himself powerfully so he can, you know, live out his purpose.
Let's say someone in the audience is listening to this right now, and they were in the situation you were in when you were first starting out. What do you think holds people back from living the life that they desire?
Go into the external first. In my opinion, and whether it's with the 7-figure guys, so we work with men that are right the way from generating 4 figures a month up to 6 figures a month. And, you know, living a life they desire, even the guys at 7 figures, they may have quote-unquote financial success, but they may still not be living a life they desire because they don't feel fulfilled. And often what it all comes down to is focusing on the external. You know, focusing on the external first, whether it's your lower-level guys and it's funnels, marketing, all those things, or whether it's the high-level guys and they focus on the money and they've gone after the money. You know, for you to live the life you desire, you really get to know who you are. Who are you as a man? Like, who are you? Who is Trevor? Like, who are you in your truth when you're showing up powerfully in all that you already are in your relationships, in your business, with your wellness, with your money, with yourself? Who are you? You know, that is the thing. The strongest force in your personality is a desire for you to stay consistent with who you believe you are, identity. So you get to figure out who you are, start with you first, and everything will flow from there because you will come from a place of alignment. The action that you then take will come from a place of alignment, which is aligned to your truth, to your destiny, to your purpose. That's where you'll experience the biggest level of fulfillment.
You have friends, family, society, all telling you, what to do, whether to go to school, get a job, get married, and whatnot into your entire life. And sometimes people can forget who they actually are. How do you think a man can discover himself or who he really is?
Great question. So, the process that we take the guys through, we actually have some power activation exercises, which are similar to a guided meditation. And we really get them to identify who they are in all aspects of their life, in those 5 key areas that I just mentioned. And, part of that process of really discovering who you are is learning to be present with yourself, learning to really follow your feeling, really understand what allows you to be in flow, ease, joy, abundance, living on purpose, and what contributes to you shifting into your head. There are 2 versions of you always playing out. Either you and your shadow, the one that questions, that judges, that doubts, and there's you and your truth. The one who shows up powerfully, being all that he already is, being a powerful, powerful man that he's always been all along. And until you identify what those 2 versions are, how they show up, how they want to run your life, then we remain unconscious, and the shadow is the dominant force typically that will run the show. So the big difference between those two personas, if you like, is feeling. It's feeling.
And what do you mean or do you mind telling our audience what you mean by feeling?
So, the power activation exercises, when we take the guys through them, like guided journeys, and really access them in the truth, some of the questions that we ask them, let's take it in business, for example, who are you and your truth in business? We then get them to answer things about how are you serving the world when you are fully in your truth? What actions are you taking when you're fully in your truth? What does your business look like? How do you feel? What are the dominant feelings that you show up with? And some of the guys may say that the feelings that they have when they are fully in their truth are feelings of, like I just said, joy, happiness, flow, abundance. What else? They're dominant ones. Whereas when they're in the shadow, they'll be feeling lack. They'll be feeling competition. They'll be judging themselves. They'll be comparing themselves to others. They will be feeling scarcity. So they won't feel that money is abundant. They won't feel that love is abundant. They'll just feel totally disconnected from the fucking universe, essentially, the powerful oneness that surrounds them and the space that they've come from. So we always encourage our guys to embrace that feeling is their compass, even after they've been through the power activations. We then have them set up alarms that go off on their phone every 3 hours, and we ask them the question, am I in my head or my heart? Because when you have those feelings of joy, flow, ease, abundance, you're in your heart. And when you're in your heart, you're going to be accessing your biggest creativity. You're going to be taking actions that align to you and your truth. You're going to be implementing bigger and faster and easier. So your results are going to be bigger, faster, and easier. Whereas when you're in your head, you are judging, comparing the rest of it. You're very narrow-minded. You're operating from a place of fear. It's restriction versus expansion, and it's all governed by feeling.
How does someone go from, say, a scarcity mindset where they say there isn't enough love, there isn't enough money in the world, to going to an abundant mindset where they're saying there is enough love and there is enough money in the world?
It links into something you said before, Trevor, about being the source of your own self-love, the source of your own experience. It all starts with you and that appreciation piece that I was telling you about, because it's very, very difficult for you to really feel the abundance that surrounds you, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's health, if you don't feel like you're enough. Because when you do not feel like you are enough, you therefore feel like everything else isn't enough. So for you to embrace abundance, it starts with yourself. It starts with appreciation, self-love, self-worth. It starts with those pieces. And from that space, you will feel love, you will feel joy, you will feel happiness, and then it will start to open you up to abundance.
And Tim, I just want to say this interview has been excellent so far, and now we're going to enter the lines round. We're just going to ask you a couple of quick questions before we end the show today.
Cool.
What would you say to someone who's just starting out and going after their dreams?
Focus on yourself first.
Do you happen to have 2 or 3 books that you recommend for our audience to read?
The Compound Effect, great book. Conversations with God, another great book. A third book for the audience to read. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's quite a cool book as well.
And Tim, last question of the day. Where can our audience find you?
So right now, Trevor, the best way to get in touch with me, because our website is under construction, so the best way right now would be to just hit me up through Facebook. You know, I'd love to give your audience access to a training that I did recently for some of our high-level guys. So if they desire to have access to that, just hit me up on social media through Facebook, and either myself or one of my team will fire you the Vimeo link and password across, so you can go ahead and watch that.
That would be excellent for our audience. And Tim, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with our audience.
My pleasure, man. You've asked some amazing questions.
Thanks for listening to Become the Lion. Everything from today's show will be in our show notes on our website. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Till next week, don't stop grinding.